These are the 3 books that turned me into a reader as an adult. So as a kid, I always grew up reading. My mom read to me, so I read a lot as a kid. I was the kid that got in trouble because I'd have my head down on the desk reading, and the teacher would have to steal my book away. I read Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, um, all the young kid stuff. And then I kind of fell out of reading going in towards high school, but there were a few books that still came out from some of my favorite authors that I would read here and there. And one of those authors was Christopher Paolini with The Inheritance Cycle and Aragon. I'm sure you heard of it. And really, I have to credit him for me being a reader as a young child and as an adult. So a few years ago, Christopher Paolini releases his new book, Murtagh. I knew nothing about this. I didn't know he had written a new book. I didn't know he had a new book coming out. I was not reading. I hadn't read in years, 5 or 6 years. And even then, read religiously, been 10 years. Probably more. I'm thinking about it. Yeah, like 12 to 15 years since I had read consistently a book, not just a one-off for a year. But my cousin hits me up. He knew I loved Inheritance. He loved Inheritance as well. He said, hey, Christopher Paolini is releasing a new book, Murtagh in the Inheritance Cycle, and he's going to be in town for a book signing. Do you want to go? Wow, I hadn't even thought about the Inheritance Cycle in years, or Aragon or anything. I was like, yeah, I want to go. So we go. I buy the book. I get it signed. Have a little chat with him. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to reread The Inheritance Cycle because I can't remember anything that happened, even though I've read this series multiple times at this point. And so I reread the entire series, and then I reread Murtagh, and I was like, yeah, that was good. That felt good. I want to keep reading. So obviously, I'm an adult now. I hadn't read anything since I was a kid. I only knew about, YA authors and books and series. So I get on the old Google, and I just Google best adult fantasy books. And I happen to stumble upon a little well-known book called Mistborn. From what I saw, from what I now know, Brandon Sanderson is the biggest fantasy author today. And I'd never heard of him. I didn't know anything about it. And I was like, you know what? Let's get it. Ran up to Barnes & Noble. Bought the entire trilogy because that's how I do things. And instantly got hooked. And still to this day, this is one of the most satisfying trilogies I've ever read. This not only does it hold a special place in my heart for getting me hooked back into reading and fantasy in general, but it really does stand up against some of the all-time greats, some of people's favorite trilogies. The Mistborn trilogy is right up there, in my opinion, knocking their socks off. It's just fantastic, and the way that the trilogy ends, it just blew my mind of what fantasy can do, the way that fantasy can make you feel when you're reading. It has all of the things that I wanted, and it is a female protagonist. And I will admit, as a young boy when I was reading books, I did not like reading female protagonists because I liked to imagine myself as the main character. So I typically strayed away from any book that had female main characters, which I think is valid as a young boy, so don't get mad. As an adult, this was the first book that I read, and probably up until that point, the only book I'd ever read that had a female protagonist, and I absolutely loved it. It opened up my eyes to all of what reading has to offer, so highly recommend. If you haven't read Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, give it a shot. So I made it all the way through Mistborn, the trilogy. Absolutely. By this point, I'm hooked. I'm an addict. I need another hit. I'm itching. My cousin, who recommended we go buy Murtagh at the time, he's reading with me. He's getting re-hooked on reading the same as I am. And he was like, hey, I talked to some people. They said if you liked Brandon Sanderson, check out Red Rising. And I was like, all right, bet. I'm gonna go get that. So I go to Barnes & Noble. I buy Red Rising. This time, just the first book. It's a sci-fi. I wasn't a sci-fi guy. I was trusting the process, so I didn't want to buy the whole shebang. I sit down on a Saturday or Sunday morning. I open up Red Rising, and in just a few short hours, I am on my way back to the store to buy the rest of the series. This was it. I had never experienced. This is a science fiction, but it kind of reads like a fantasy. And I don't even know what that means, but it feels like fantasy when I'm reading it. By the rest of the series, I get through Golden Sun, Morning Star. I stopped there with the series for a while. I put it down because I was like, dude, I love Brandon Sanderson so much. People are raving about the Stormlight. I'm gonna get into Stormlight, so I did that. But anyways, Red Rising for me is an all-time greatest go. The series as a whole will go down as easily a top 3 series of all time for me. And it could easily take the #1 spot depending on how Red God goes and how some of these other finales to series I'm in finish. But yeah, if you haven't checked out Red Rising, there's a reason so much hype is around this book. Now, a lot of people, there's a lot of hate on this series as well. I don't really understand what that's about, but I would like to. So if you don't like the book, let me know why, and let's have a discussion. I think that's one of the beautiful things about reading is that we all have different tastes, different preferences, different life experiences that allow us to read books and enjoy them and pick up things that somebody else may not. And as we discuss reading and why we enjoyed books, I've read books that I was like, I didn't really like that book, and then talked to a friend who was like, oh, I love this book and this is why. Then I was like, hold on, I didn't really think about that while I was reading this book, and now that I'm thinking about it that way, yeah, I think I kind of like the book a little bit more now. So that just is reading as a whole. And my goal as an adult now is I want to continue reading. I want to make videos and talk to people about reading and try and spread reading specifically to young men, because that's what I was. Pretty much as soon as high school started, I kind of was like, oh, reading's not cool anymore. I'm not going to be reading. And I just want to spread reading to everybody, but specifically young men, let you know reading is fucking dope. This is magic. People say, oh, magic doesn't exist in our world. It's right here, baba. Books. Books are little pocket dimensions that you can keep in your pocket and read and explore at your own leisure. And it's absolutely amazing. Love you. Bye.